reminding you to vote yes on Proposition Get It On. Adam Carolla.
Yeah, get it on. Got to get it on. The Church of Amendment. Get it on. Welcome to big Election Day special. Of course, we don't know any results yet, but I thought it'd be great to speak to our friend Dave Rubin, since he has his finger on the pulse of all this stuff. His YouTube show, The Rubin Report, is where you can find all the latest on Dave. And I have many thoughts to share with you, Dave, but thanks for joining us.
Adam, what is that blue thing in front of you? It looks like a rubber glove. Is that, I don't know what your kind of election coverage you're doing. Yes, what is that? What is that?
This is a silk hanky for cleaning lenses on glasses.
I thought it was just a generic rubber glove. And, you know, everyone's feeling the tension. I don't know what you do right now to relieve the tension, but okay, you're cleaning your glasses. Fair enough.
Yes.
That's a lot better than what I was thinking.
Well, you know, we're at a very interesting time, and I guess it all speaks to a wiring, and I'm really sort of confused. But when I hear Elon Musk get up there and go, I want to streamline government, I want to trim fat, I want to see how lean and mean we can do this, and I go, yeah, I love the way that sounds. And then when I hear Robert Kennedy Jr. start talking about, or Bobby Kennedy Jr. talk about, you know, getting healthy and getting the whatever out of the foods and cleaning up the FDA and stuff, I go, yeah. And then I hear Kamala Harris say, I dream of a world where everyone has a seat at the table and everyone is treated with dignity. And I go, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I know what. Now, look, Elon may not be able to pull it off. I get it. But everyone getting a seat at the table doesn't mean anything. And I don't know why that's attractive to people.
That's such a perfect way to frame a conversation on a day like this, because we either can continue with meaningless platitudes and a bunch of people who just want to grow government and this kind of slow descent to hell that we're all in, where America's no good and we can't dream anymore, or we could take a chance. We could take a chance with an orange man and the billionaire with the rockets and the guy whose uncle and father were probably killed by the deep state who wants to get seed oils off the French fries, and an interesting cast of characters like Tulsi Gabbard, who we were told was a Russian stooge by Hillary Clinton when she ran for president as a Democrat. And, you know, this wide tent thing that I think guys like you and I have wanted forever, people who don't really care what you do in the bedroom, who just want people to live the life that they think is best for them with some reasonable expectations out of government. We have the chance to restore that. You know, you and I are big nostalgia guys, right? We could go through every movie we've ever saw, every TV show we've ever seen, every stand-up routine we've ever watched. And it's like if America could just remember, if people could just remember how great it was in the 80s and 90s, and even you can argue into portions of the 2000s and everything else. And then the phone and social media and endless scrolling, it screwed up our brains. The media started lying about everything. We let way too many of these bad idea pathogens into the system and to just rot out so much. But if we could just remember that America not only was good, but was great, it's on a hat somewhere. And if we could just realize that we can get that back again, and it could happen pretty damn quickly. Look how quickly Milei has transformed Argentina. When Argentina was completely bottoming out just a few months ago, he's done it in basically 6 months. Look what Bukele has done in El Salvador. And America has so much stronger institutions. We have so much of a richer culture and all this stuff. I'm incredibly excited, as you can possibly tell. I've also drank a lot of coffee today, but I really think there is a chance to fix this thing. Otherwise, it's just a seat at a table. And guess what? There won't be much food at that table, and you're not going to really like those people at the table.
I am, you know, on a sort of micro level, I live in LA. I know. Condolences to me.
No. That's your whole level. You live in LA, accept it, and until you leave, I will make fun of you for it.
You drive by whatever park with the lake in it, and Elysian Park or whatever park that is, sort of between here and downtown. And at some point, you realize that it's completely infested with homeless people. They're camping everywhere. There's junk everywhere. I literally saw people using the sign for the Echo Park as a laundry dryer, as a clothesline, and this guy was like washing his underpants in the lake and then hanging them up over the sign. You couldn't even read the sign. And I would drive past it on occasion. I would look at it and I'd go, God, it's a shit show. It's so disgusting. There's people who live there that want to use that park. They have kids. They had a lake. Ironically, these little paddle swans. You would pedal these pedal boards that looked like swans. There were, little pedal boats, I should call them. But anyway, somebody said one day, let's just clean this place up. And everyone went, you can't do that. And what about these people? And what about their rights and whatever? And at some point, a bunch of people showed up with dump trucks. And then 3 days later, it looked brand new. And then the last time I drove past it, it was families with their kids enjoying their park. And I thought, it is doable. It's eminently doable. It's super doable. We never do it, but it is real doable. I don't get why we don't know that, or is that the plan? I don't know.
Well, I would say, as you know, I live in a place called Florida. It's about 3,000 miles away from where you live. And our parks are clean. And we don't have cities overrun with homeless people and all of the problems that you're talking about. But look, it can be done. How did Gavin Newsom, the most evil man in all of America, how did he, when the Chinese president came to San Francisco about a year ago, how did he clean up the streets in quite literally 48 hours? He did it. I don't know exactly how he did it. I don't know where he moved those homeless people to temporarily. I don't know where all the drug addicts went. But the Chinese president shows up. They have a day of cleanliness in San Francisco, and then it suddenly all returns 2 days later. So as Ron DeSantis often says, decline is a choice. And I think too many of us have started to think, oh, there is no choice anymore. We are just on the decline. And I don't think that's true. And I also think, as it relates to Elon, the craziest part of what these lunatics are doing with this guy, who was loved by everybody just a few years ago, and now they think of him as some crazy right-wing maniac, the very same people who will tell you that the earth is heating up and we're all going to die because of climate change. And, AOC said we had 12 years, 6 years ago, so now we've only got 6 years. It's like, well, you might not want to try to destroy the guy who's trying to make life interplanetary. So everything these people do, it's doom and gloom, it's depressing. It's why there hasn't been, we used to have good movies come out every freaking weekend back in the day. Every weekend you'd go to the movie theater, there were 5 things you want to saw. You're a huge music guy. Like, when's the last time you heard that 4 great albums came out, within a couple months? I can't remember the last time I heard a new good song. I'm not saying that there's nothing, but the lack of creativity that we have in the country right now is connected to the overall, I would say, depressive state of things, which is the seat at the table thing. And I want the other thing, and we damn well better get it.
Yeah, it's so weird when they go, I'm voting for Kamala because I have a daughter and she cares about my daughter. It's first off, does she care? How about, do you think the Venezuelan gangs and MS-13 that are coming in and going to kill people and rape people and everything else, they may not be so thrilled with your daughter, but congratulations, she can get an 8-month abortion. It's so boring. I get what they're doing. I do not get what John Q. Public is doing when they nod their head and they go, like, I watch these clips. I was watching Bill Nye, who's completely lost it, but I was watching this clip of Bill Nye and Rosario Dawson, and Bill Nye wants to vote for Kamala Harris because he wants to move on because, and I'll play the clip and get your reaction to it. It's Rosario Dawson and Bill Nye.
Hi, Bill. What are you doing on Tuesday?
I'm going to vote for Kamala Harris.
Oh my gosh, me too. Why are you voting for her?
Because the world is on fucking fire.
Word. Yeah, that's why I got a plan to vote. How about you?
I got a plan to vote. We'll see you there.
Do you have a plan to vote? Make a plan to vote.
Okay, so we got to vote for Kamala Harris because the world's on fucking fire.
The woman who's been in charge for the last 4 years, as Joe Biden said, so because the world's on fire, we got to vote for the people that are in charge right now. Help me. I'm not a scientist.
Listen, Look, I'm sorry. It doesn't matter how partisan you are. You can't argue that 4 years ago there was much less international turmoil when you get into Israel and you get into Ukraine. The world stage was quieter, and I don't care how big a Kamala Harris fan you are, you could not argue against that. I mean, they would try, but statistically, it was a much more peaceful place. So Bill Nye, who's a man of science, is going to vote against the current administration because the world is on fire. But the current administration is who lit the match. So it's insane. And listen, I don't really get into Kamala, you were in charge. You were in charge because I don't think she was in charge, and I sure don't think Joe Biden was in charge. But I'm saying
no, it's shorthand for the machine, basically.
Right. 4 years ago, you told me we had to vote for these people, otherwise the world would be on fire.
Right, exactly. Well, I would also question whether Bill Nye is a man of science. I mean, if you asked him, is there biological differences between boys and girls, and can boys become girls, I suspect we'd be sorely disappointed in his answer. But putting him aside, yeah, look, they've got a collection of people who the system has done well for, so they live in service to the system. You probably saw the video that the entire cast of the Avengers did supporting Kamala.
Yeah.
How is it possible that all of them have come to the exact same conclusion to this election? Or is it possible that they realize that they are completely interchangeable actors who can be as good as Robert Downey Jr. is at Iron Man or whatever? They are all completely interchangeable, so you just live in service to the system. And that's what these people do. And the reason that you don't live in service to the system, while let's say some of your former colleagues, maybe a Jimmy Kimmel might, is because you are independent, Adam, and you're going to say what you think for better or worse, and that's why your podcast is absolutely huge. And Jimmy Kimmel, I know you don't want me to really do it, but Jimmy Kimmel is just a sellout, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Okay.
All right. Now, I know you have some Obama thoughts, and I do too. Oh. And I think you and I, let's see if we can be very accurate and also generous to the extent we can. I'll tell my team, Joe, I don't have any Glenn Washington bio names. I don't have anything on Glenn Washington in front of me, so produce that. And I'll get to that in a minute. We should say, and I'll speak a little for you, Dave Rubin, I come from a very progressive family who really liked the idea of having the first black president, as I did. I liked it as well. Now, I do generally feel that way. Now, I will vote for the person whose policies are better than the black woman of, the woman of color, whatever it is. But all things being equal, I will go, well, if everything is equal, I'll take the first black president over Mitt Romney or whomever. So that's a sort of number one. Number two, when he first entered the stage, I didn't know anything about him, and I kind of dug his vibe. He said, look, if I lose, it's not going to be because of the color of my skin. It's because I didn't put my policies ahead or convince enough Americans to vote me. And I remember going, yeah, good. I like that guy. And then when he won, I was kind of like, all right, I'm sure I'm not down with some of his progressive Democratic policies, but okay, good for us. We got a black president, and we can now sort of turn down the temperature on the racism and the rhetoric and sort of know what I knew all along, which is we are a pretty good society. We're not a racist society. We're not systemically racist. Now we have a black president. This proves it. And it's kind of fun. He's doing his college Final Four brackets and hanging with Jay-Z or whatever. And I was kind of like, good guy. And then he kept going down this road where he's just turned into a race hustler. And I've said a million times, if Obama and Oprah and LeBron James wanted to all get together and really put an end to this shit, we could if they would, but they won't. They have to just keep stoking the flames, and people are literally being killed because of it. And now he just keeps going. And so it's not like I never liked the guy. I wanted to like the guy, but he kept going. and just became part of the machine you speak of, but his job is to hustle race.
Well, I agree with that completely. I voted for the guy twice, and I absolutely regret it, but that shows that I once was a man of the left. But to watch what he has done, and I know, it's funny, I get the return feed the way these shows work. So I'm seeing just a still image while you're talking. I just have a still image of Barack Obama staring at me while you're talking about him. And I just kept thinking while you were saying that, man, that's the face of the bad guy now. He is the bad guy in the equation. Whether that means he's been running the Biden administration this entire time, a lot of people think it's his staffers that have been running it. And when Chuck and Nancy got together with Kamala and threatened Biden with the 25th Amendment to get him to step down, that Biden was like, oh, I'm enjoying my third term and I want a fourth. And Joe, we know you're not capable of doing it. He is the bad guy now. He is the Sith Lord that we've been looking for. And I think you're about to show the clip here, and then we can illustrate sort of how evil he's become.
Maybe you're Muslim American or Jewish American, and you are heartbroken and furious about the ongoing bloodshed in the Middle East and worried about the rise of anti-Semitism. Why would you place your faith in somebody who instituted a so-called Muslim ban, who sat down for pleasantries with Holocaust deniers, who said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally?
All right. And then I think Dave Rubin put out a clip where he sort of, okay. I talked to Dr. Drew about this a lot.
Yeah.
Most of the things they are attempting to hang on Donald Trump, such as bloodbath, dictator day one, good people on both sides, it's actually sort of insane because their top 10 didn't happen or are easily refutable. Their top 10 things are sort of Jussie Smollett. Yeah. They're made up, the top 10. Okay, that's their top 10. The top 5 things I don't like about Kamala Harris, she is on tape saying this is what I want. I'm looking at getting rid of ICE. I'm looking at transgender folks in prison getting paid to have their gender reassignment surgery.
We all end up in the same place. How about that?
Oh, one? That's the worst. I'm against fracking. Like, she says it all. We don't have to cook it. It's all been said. The Trump stuff is, I don't even know what to call it because there's footage. Like, he's telling Sean Hannity, I'm just going to be dictator. No, just day one. And I'm going to shut the border and I'm going to drill, baby, drill. And then I'm going back to not being a dictator. It's all there. It's high def.
That's why I always talk about the machine, because this election really is not about, we'll get to the fine people thing in a second. This election is not about Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris, and it's not really about Republicans versus Democrats or conservatives versus liberals. This election basically is what you just laid out right there. The election really is, does the system, the machine, the matrix, whatever you want to call it, does it have enough juice to flex one more time? Right. So many of us have woke up to all of these lies. The Democrats and the machine have lied about literally everything. You mentioned Jussie Smollett. We'll do very fine people in a second. The Covington kids are racist. Brett Kavanaugh is a serial rapist. Like the Russia hoax.
Kyle Rittenhouse. They couldn't even.
Kyle Rittenhouse. All of it. So they've lied about every single big story.
Hunter Biden laptop. Jesus Christ.
All of it. Adam, you and I are not freaking geniuses, but why is it that we did not fall for all of these hoaxes?
Almost everything COVID they lied about.
Everything. How come again? Why didn't you and I? It's not because we're geniuses. It's because we're not propagandists. But There's an entire machine designed as propagandists. So to get to the clip right there, first off, he's conflating these things that have nothing to do with each other in a weird way to play to people's fears right now, right? So first off, there was no Muslim ban. The ban, it was specific countries like Pakistan where terrorists potentially were coming from, but it didn't include, I think, the 6 most populous Muslim countries. So it was not a Muslim ban. That's one thing. You also might want, if you were a little, let's say, post-October 7th, a little concerned that bad people might want to come in and kill Americans, you might want to ban people from certain countries for certain specific reasons, not to be bigoted.
Oh,
but
Dave, sorry for cutting you off, but you're a gay man living in Florida. How's it not being able to say gay?
Say gay, please. I'm doing gay a couple times a week.
Don't say gay.
Not as much as I used to.
Well,
but,
I feel you. I'm just waiting for you to drop down to 0, and then we're going to hook up and really have a life.
But look, the very fine people thing here, because what you tried to do before, I think, was quite nice. You're trying to give the most generous version of what someone is saying. So let's try to do that with Obama. The most generous version of what he said right there, as per the very fine people at the white supremacist rally, which it was not. At first, it was a rally that was debating whether statues should be taken down. Obviously, you can have a good debate about that. And some people would say, oh, well, even though it was a monument to a bad person, we could keep it up, or you should have a plaque there, or it should be moved to it. There's obviously ways to have that debate. Okay, fine, put that aside. Not only is it debunkable in 2 seconds, the most generous version would be that Barack Obama has literally no idea what he's talking about, right? So it's not that if you're trying to be generous to Barack Obama, it's not that he's a liar. Now, I think he's a liar.
Yes.
But the generous version would be, oh, he's just an idiot. He actually, all these years later, he has no idea that this has been debunked from here to kingdom come. Yes. I don't think that's true. No. I don't think anyone with a half a brain cell thinks that's true.
No, we play stupid
yeah.
or liar's the game I play. Stupid or liar, and he's clearly not stupid.
Right. So, okay. So if he's not stupid, then he's a liar. But there's something even more twisted. It's one thing if you lie to people thinking that you can get away with the lie. Now, our friend Jordan Peterson would say you never will really get away with that lie. But if you think you can get away with the lie, then I suppose you could see why someone would lie. We've all told white lies or whatever, half truths, whatever it might be. But here you have a guy 2 days before the election going out there promoting what I would say is quite literally, it's a bigger hoax than the Russia hoax, I think, actually, because it was so damaging to the Trump presidency and so connected to him being, Hitler and everything else. You have him promoting what he knows is a lie, and he also knows that a minute after he says it, it's going to be debunked relentlessly online. And I think you saw my tweet. It took my social media guy, it took him 2 minutes to put the actual Trump quote up, and we put them together, and I think Elon even retweeted it. It's like, that's a specific type of liar who will lie knowing he's going to get caught, yet still plows ahead. And that's why I say, what this election really about is how much juice does the machine have to lie, spit in your face, tell you that they're not lying, versus whatever the hell it is that the rest of us are up to, which I think is considerably better.
Yes. I think we have Dave's clip somewhere, his edited clip that he just threw up right after that. And it's kind of, we're living at the point, I think it was Harry Reid, but I can't remember who said it, but he basically said, I don't know, X amount of years ago, he said, someone interviewed him and said, you lied and said Mitt Romney didn't pay taxes, but he did pay taxes. Do you regret that lie? And he just went, well, we won, didn't we?
Yeah, I think that was Harry Reid.
Yeah, and that's like, all right, I guess that's where we're at now. I mean, that is where we're at.
So, there's a great Solzhenitsyn quote about the best thing, I'm going to butcher it slightly, but in essence, that really the best thing that you can do as a citizen is not participate in the lie anymore. Right. And I think what's happened is so many of us are so deep in this. So why is it, again, it's not like you and I are so brilliant, Adam, we're pretty good at what we do, but why is it that Barack Obama knows he can say that, knows it will be debunked, no Twitter is going to get a hold of it, and yet he also knows at the same time that the New York Times will not debunk it. He knows that CNN won't do it. He knows that Jake Tapper, everyone thinks Jake's the one not insane guy over at CNN. How does he know that Jake Tapper is not going to do it? Because they're all participating in the lie together. That's why.
Yeah, I guess it kind of comes down to, if I was going to explain this to a child, and I don't mean that in a condescending way, but it's like I had to talk to someone about, or just someone from another planet or another civilization or time traveler. And I don't want to speak for you, but I think you might gravitate toward this. And then we'll play your edited clip. I think what it comes down to is the following. I would say there is a guy who has a bunch of policies that I like, who's also coordinated with other people that are geniuses or that I respect that also want to contribute some policies. And I like what they're saying. I like what they're saying about the border, and I like what they're saying about energy, and I like what they're saying about taxes. So that just personally, I don't want to get into the weeds and argue over whether it would work or not. I'm just telling you, one guy has policies that I like and that I think would be effective and that I would try to implement if I was in charge. The other person doesn't really have any policies. They're sort of more the same, and if there are policies, they're ones that I probably disagree with. The transgender stuff or the transitioning people in prison or the approach to the border, or let's just take one example, school choice. I like school choice. I think it helps the people who need it the most, and 80% of the black community wants school choice. The guy I'm voting for wants school choice as well. The other side is against school choice. Not that they ever can articulate why they're against school choice, but there's big unions who vote for them. And by the way, those unions were the reason my kids missed 2 years of school in LA 4 years ago, because the unions got hold of the CDC and told them what to do, which is all part of the bigger machine we're talking about. I do not want the teachers' unions influencing COVID at all. I want them to have zero influence over COVID. Turns out they had a big influence over COVID. So for all that, I'm voting for this guy. Now, the downside to this guy, at least from the folks who don't like this guy, is he wants to lock up people that look different than him, and he wants to shut down all media that disagrees with him, and he's racist, and he's xenophobic, and he's homophobic, and he just wants to help him and a handful of his rich buddies get richer, and he hates Mexicans. And then I would say, well, if I believed that, then I wouldn't vote for him. But I don't believe any of that. And part of the reason he said he was going to be a dictator on the first day, and he said there was going to be a bloodbath. Well, part of the reason I don't believe that is the side that says he's doing it is basically cooking it and making it up. And also, just because I love psychology, if you really wanted to be a dictator, you would not say it out loud ever. And if you really had the plans that they claim you have that are so nefarious, you would not even get near that subject. So I don't believe any of that is going to happen. Now, if I believed it was going to happen and still voted for him, then I would be a bad person.
Right. So look, I personally, Adam, at this point, I'm kind of over wondering what is going on in these people's minds. I give the credit to the machine that is able to confuse so many people, that is able to lie to so many people and then say, thank you, sir, may I have another? I give credit. I admire it to the extent that you have to acknowledge what evil is. You know, in my first book, I wrote about this, that it's sort of like the alien in the Alien movie. If you remember at the end, when, the humanoid android robot, Ash on the ship, the alien has now killed everybody else besides Sigourney and the kid, and Ash is there, and Ash is beheaded, and he's talking. It's a really great scene. Yeah. It was way ahead of its time, and the goo is spitting out. And Ash, the humanoid robot, is basically explaining that it admires the alien.
Yes.
And the reason it admires the alien is because the alien does what it set out to do. He doesn't know what it set out to do, but it seemingly is able to accomplish all its objectives. It killed everybody on board. It's It's multiplying, et cetera, and that it does it without remorse and everything else. So he admires it as an organism. So these people have become, Barack Obama is utterly disgusting to me. His motives are disgusting, I think. His actions are disgusting, et cetera. But we have to acknowledge they are playing a certain game, and it is quite possible by the end of today, we will find out they are still playing the game better than we are, despite all of the reasons and evidence that we have that most people actually are far more interested in our game.
Here's a side question, but I think you're uniquely qualified to answer it. Is this going to be the last 4 years that the machine, in terms of the media machine, can have this kind of grip? And are those?
If she wins,
she wins.
So let's do it right. So, I guess it depends who wins, right? So if Trump wins today, and it's big, and I think it really could be big. And again, like I'm pretty good at ideas. I'm not that good at predictions. So, I think Trump's going to win. People will gladly clip this and make fun of me if he doesn't. That is what it is. I'd much rather be right about my ideas and wrong about predictions. So put that where it may. If Trump wins, I think what happens, especially if he wins big, is that we can really put so much of this stuff behind us. We can put the bullshit of the media behind us. We don't have to, guys like us don't have to every day on our show play the latest clip of the insane thing they said at MSNBC or somewhere else, because we can start moving beyond it. We can start actually covering the fact that Elon is cutting $2 trillion from the government. And oh, by the way, we're getting a new rocket ship to go to Mars, and then we're going to catch it on the way down with robotic chopsticks. It's pretty awesome. And by the way, oh my God, it turns out RFK, he influenced McDonald's, and now they're using beef tallow instead of, canola oil in the fries or whatever it might be. And then suddenly we get what Scott Adams always calls is the golden age. We actually could get there because we could say goodbye to the old media. Yes, will they always brainwash a certain amount of people? I'm not saying take them off the airwaves by governmental force, but like they'll just sort of start dissipating. If she wins, God only knows what they would do. But again, by her own words, not by my words or what I'm projecting on her. What has she said about free speech? What has Tim Walz said about free speech? I mean, Tim Walz literally said that you have no right to hate speech. That's exactly the reverse of what the Supreme Court said as it pertains to the First Amendment. So these people are deeply dangerous, and I would only again, not what I purport them to believe in. What did they do during COVID? They coordinated with big tech to silence people, including me. One of my tweets was one of the ones that Jim Jordan, congressman from Ohio, reported on as being taken down by the government. So we know what their actions are. We know what their intentions are. And Kamala, she is a Marxist. She wants equity over equality. She wants us all to end up in the same place. It's deeply anti-human. You and I shouldn't end up in the same place. We're very similar, actually, in our line of work, in our line of thinking. But I'm pretty sure you have more money than me. And I'm okay with that, Adam. It's okay. You've built great things. It's awesome. I don't have as many cars as you. Am I entitled to 4 of your cars because we do kind of similar work? Of course not. So it's all just epic BS, and we've got to destroy it. And we've got a couple hours left to do it.
It'd be nice. I'll play the clip of Obama that Dave's crack team edited up, just for anyone who's under any illusions that somehow this didn't happen.
Who said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally.
Very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me. You had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
Yeah, it is interesting and also confounding that we're continuing on with this. It's sort of I always kind of compare it to your wife or partner accuses you of cheating, and is pretty sure you were cheating. And then at some point you pull out some texts and some receipts from the hotel and some texts to coworkers about working on something. And she looks at all that you lay out in front of her and she goes, oh, okay. And then 4 months later, you're at a dinner party and she's going, well, Dave cheated,
Right.
and you go, no, wait a minute. We already debunked this thing, and then keeps going back to it. And then people in the neighborhood start looking at you sideways when you're walking the dog because here comes the cheater. I was like, no, you accused this person of this thing. Then this person brought receipts and said it didn't happen. You can watch it on your phone. It'll take less than 5 minutes. And you just keep circling back. It's January 6th, deadly insurrection. Officers were killed that day. It's like, no, they weren't. They weren't. Yeah. You know that. You know it wasn't a deadly insurrection. You know officers weren't killed. I know you wish and you pray that some of those Capitol Police died that day. They did not. But you keep saying it.
So what does that tell you about where we're at right now? I mean, I think it tells you something pretty dark and disturbing about humans and the position that we find ourselves in today and the choice that America is making today. Like if at this point, Adam, with the amount of us that have woken up to all of this stuff, if we can't win at this point, if the people who are, let's say, roughly approximating the quest for truth, if they can't win right now, then what chance will the truth have to win in 4 years from now? Think how much worse it'll be then when the gears have turned against us that much further or the machine has calcified things that much more. That's why I really do agree with Elon. It's not that we won't have elections after this, but we will have so lost the plot related to the truth that it simply won't matter if we have elections anymore.
Yeah. I'm going to share something that I kept running through my mind as I kept hearing all the rhetoric as we built up to the election, all the Hitlerian talk and all the his spokespeople at the rally making jokes about Mexicans and stuff. I love it all. It's insane. It's kind of, there is an amusing facet to it, like people getting really sucked in to, I'm 1/8 Puerto Rican. And when Trump writes jokes for some comedy guy to come in and make jokes of my heritage, I love it. It's insane, but I love it. So there's a commentator named Glenn Washington, and he's a man of color, and he worked for NPR, and he did Snap Judgment on the radio and some podcasts and like some stuff. He was a NPR guy who was a large man of color who did commentating and maybe even some hosting and some maybe even some performing and some stand-up and stuff like that. And he sort of coincidentally and comically, so here's an interesting thing. The election, the last time Trump was elected was on November 8th, which sounds late because it's the first Tuesday of the month, and you didn't think, I wouldn't have thought you could get past 7, but, I didn't really think it through.
There's some calendar trick there, yeah.
Yeah, so the election was on November 8th, and that was, what was that, 2016? November 8th.
15, actually.
Oh, 15, sorry. All right. So the last time Trump won was on November 8th, and back when we knew that day. Simpler times, right?
Yeah.
Now, the guest who came in that morning was Glenn Washington. And it was the day after the election. And it was basically, he woke up in the morning, found out Trump won, and then came to the studio. So he was fired up and he was upset. And I was essentially trying to talk him off a ledge because even though we're in the Hitlerian talk now, also I like some of the logic involved. Like they'll go, Trump's Hitler, and if Trump's Hitler and he's old, and if he dies in office, J.D. Vance is going to take over, and he's worse.
He's double Hitler.
He's double Hitler.
He's faster.
He's double. He's like, what if Hitler had mad MMA skills? That's what J.D. Vance is like. Okay, so hold on. J.D. Vance is worse than the Hitlerian guy. Yeah, look at him. He's weird. Okay. So this guy, Glenn Washington, came in, and I remember first off thinking, oh, what luck. You know what I mean? Like, we couldn't have had Ted Nugent book that day or Dave Rubin. No, we had to have a black activist from NPR who, by the way, you want to know how deep this guy rolls? He's a black activist from NPR, and his wife is on the Oakland City Council and was like the vice mayor of Oakland as well. Wow. So it's all Oakland, it's all leftism, it's all NPR, and he comes in 10 minutes after Trump is handed the keys to the White House. And I will play you a couple of clips because remember, we're going back now almost a decade, and this is what we were hearing.
I'm trying to figure out what is the place for a brown family in this America, and I don't know, and so I got to figure out something big.
Well, you live in the Bay Area, right?
I do.
And are there brown families around you, or what's your area breakdown
like? Sure, there's brown, there's all kinds of things around me, and that's why but I just got a note this morning that said the kids were comparing skin tones to see who was safe or not. And I can't have it.
Now, I agree, but reality's worse.
You go to a school and when you shout Trump, 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 Trump at a high school or middle school right now, that means white power. And that's what's happening to kids. That's what's happening to our country.
All right. So that was Glenn Washington worried about his safety in Oakland back then. We also have another clip, but it always stuck in my head. A is absolutely bizarre timing that a black man whose roots were in Oakland, whose white blonde wife is all over Oakland politics. I mean, his wife is Ann Campbell Washington, senior assistant dean at UC Berkeley's Goldman School of Public Policy.
Oh, my God.
Assistant dean, executive director and for the Master of Public Affairs program, Oakland City Council 2015 to 2019. Chief of staff for Mayor of Oakland 2011 to 2014. And her NPR working black husband is the guy who's waiting for me in my studio 12 minutes after Trump wins the election. So bad timing, but it always stuck in my head, all his apocalyptic doom and gloom. And honestly, I'd like to say to him, well, what happened? Now, Oakland is a shit show. In-N-Out Burger closed its only franchise it's ever closed. The A's are moving out. Crime is through the roof. Everyone I know who's been to Oakland goes, oh, yeah, I got my car broken into. Every human being who goes to Oakland goes, oh, they smashed a window, they stole my guitar. They smashed a window, they stole my computer. Oakland is a shit show. Is that Trump? Is that on Trump? Like your kids, your mixed ethnicity kids have a higher likelihood of being shot by whom? In Oakland, a guy wearing a MAGA hat. I would argue that your liberal wife fucked up Oakland, not Trump. Trump wasn't there presiding over Oakland. The A's didn't move. The Raiders didn't move. In-N-Out didn't move. Businesses didn't close down, and crime didn't go up in Oakland because of Trump. That's your fucking liberal friends who ruined Oakland. So don't worry about Trump. Why don't you worry about the folks in your neighborhood?
I like fired up Adam Carolla.
Thank you.
You don't get too many F-bomb Adam Carolla moments.
Well, it's because I went to finishing school in Zurich.
Only the finest.
Only the finest.
Yeah, but, well, of course, you're right. These people are completely confused about the issue. And again, it would just get back to how the system can keep people in a perpetual state of fear. Think about what could potentially happen tomorrow. If Donald Trump wins, which clearly from our estimation would be the best thing for the country, and we could usher in some really incredible, I would say, like 80s style America loving good times again, and we could reverse so much of this stuff. There's going to be about half the country, we're to believe, is going to think that Hitler's in charge. That's a problem.
Yes, I have a couple more clips, by the way, just before we drift too far, from Glenn Washington. Again, on the right after Trump was elected his first term. I'll play those for you. And by the way, this is a highly educated fella who's married to a highly educated woman who's in government. Yeah, that's the problem.
That's the problem.
Here it is.
The alt-right, or let's just call them the white nationalists, the KKK, the neo-Nazis, David Duke, Vladimir Putin, and Kim Il-jung were all agreed this is their guy. So it ain't my guy, and that's not, like I said, that's not, what I mourn for is I mourn for the country I imagined I lived in.
Well, really, what he should mourn for is the good fucking people who used to live in Oakland and tried to have a business that's now shuttered. Mourn for the people who wanted a double-double, bitch. Mourn for them. Mourn for the people who wanted to go to an A's game. Mourn for them.
How many A's, old school A's, can you mention just off the top of your head? Let's do Canseco, McGuire, Dave Stewart, Dennis Eckersley.
Reggie Jackson, going deep.
Oh, Reggie Jackson. Little before my time, but yeah. All right. Point being that the idea that an In-N-Out would close anywhere. You go to an In-N-Out anywhere in this country, people are dying to get in there. There are lines constantly from the second they open.
2 in the morning, the drive-thru's so crowded they have to dispatch people with laptops to go walk and get your order 30 cars in. Of course, they have never closed a franchise anywhere since 1952, except for in Glenn Washington's Oakland. But he's worried about the invisible Klan. All right, I got one more. I got one more clip for you. Sorry.
I think that Trump has already changed the dialogue of the United States. You didn't used to be able to run down the street or waving a Confederate flag. The amount of racial vitriol that we thought was kind of reduced to the underbelly of the United States, that's front and center now. You have Bannon, who was the head of the alt-right Breitbart thing. He's now the head of Trump's campaign. This is not the KKK is in the middle of the United States of America's presidential suite.
All right. Well, those were predictions from a man who does news and is well-versed and is married to someone who's very deep in politics. And
Adam, I don't want to speak out of school here, but I'm starting to think that very highly educated people who live in the Pacific Northwest, whose wives work at Berkeley, who work at NPR themselves, maybe not the greatest people to get your news from. Is that where you're going with this?
Well, their batting average has not been fantastic, but I'm just using this as a metaphor because this is what he thought was going to happen the first time around. None of it happened, but what did happen is Oakland was ruined by progressive politics. That's what did happen. And you should think about that next time you're worried. It's the same thing. It's like people go, oh, I feel sorry for Adam. You have a daughter. It's like, don't worry about my daughter if Trump gets in. Worry about California turning into a brighter dumpster fire under this administration known as Gavin Newsom and a monopoly on democratic politics. That's what we have to worry about.
Adam, Donald Trump has at least 3 Jewish grandchildren, and his daughter Ivanka converted to Judaism to marry Jared Kushner. Their kids go to Jewish day school. The idea that this guy is a Nazi or Hitler or anything else is completely absurd. Everything that you've just laid out there. The moment for me where it all fully crystallized was, I think, at his second State of the Union when he was talking about lowest Black and Latino unemployment. And the Congressional Black Caucus sat there with their arms crossed like this, and everyone else in the chamber was applauding. But then it was just such a starkly obvious reminder that these people don't care about Black people. They care about power. And they're only using all of these minorities in their intersectional matrix of oppression to attain power. And unfortunately, they, again, have duped an awful lot of people into thinking it's legit, but it ain't.
Well, you know, it's kind of insane, I will say naively. I was kind of thinking back in the day when there's elections and there are guys like Reagan out there, and they didn't like Reagan and so forth. But you turn on the news now, and it's like white men, 16% advantage for Trump, white women, 16% for Kamala Harris, black men, 71%, black women, and women, men, black, white groups. And I was like, what the fuck are we doing? What is with all the grouping? And by the way, that is going back, 40 years when we did have groups that were more distinct. We're kind of blurring. The point is this. Glenn Washington is married to a blonde woman, and their kids are mixed. There's just a lot of mixed now. There's much more. The Cuisinart has been fired up, and the ingredients are getting sort of mixed together to make a smoothie known as America. And in a world where there's a lot more, and look, Kamala Harris is mixed. You know what I mean? So what is this group, that group, this group? And of course, you're doing it, and you're naturally pitting us against each other because it's impossible. I've said a million times, you can only be a Ravens fan for so long before, and you cheer the Ravens. You love the Baltimore Ravens, but at some point, you're going to have to hate the Raiders. That's part of it. You know what I mean? You cheer for the Dodgers, but at some point, if you see a guy in a Giants jersey in the parking lot, you're going to have to punch him. So you cannot break everyone off into groups, Barack Obama, and then demand that we celebrate these groups. And you can't talk about oppression for an endless amount of time without looking around and going, well, hold on. Who's doing the oppressing here? And next thing you know.
What was going to happen?
Right.
What was going to happen at the end of this? At the end of this was going to obviously be something very nasty. If you truly believe that the way to solve perceived former discrimination is with current day discrimination, you don't have a very good understanding of human nature, right? Like, why would let's say, okay, has America historically been unfair to black people? Obviously, to some extent, that is true. Slavery, the ability to maybe get a loan they might have been discriminated against, whatever it might be, Jim Crow laws, okay, fine. If your answer then to that discrimination is to do anything other than help with opportunity so people can pick themselves up, you are basically putting discrimination into the system. Why would I punish a kid whose parents are from South Korea? They came here 30 years ago, opened a bodega in Glendale. He worked real hard. It wasn't easy for them. They didn't speak the language. He becomes the first native English speaker. And now he's trying to get to college, and we're going to make it harder for him so that we can help the black kid. Well, you know what you're going to do? Well, first off, you didn't really help the black kid, because actually by lowering standards to let him in, you're turning people against him. You're actually creating racism, but you're also putting a bunch of unqualified people into a whole bunch of important positions, likely, like whether that's a pilot or a doctor or whatever it might be, if you're going to let people get in via lower standards. That's why meritocracy is the only thing that works. So this was always going to end up being really, really nasty. But I'll make a prediction. If Trump wins tonight, what you're going to see at about 11:30 p.m., and I pray to God we get a result tonight, is John King over on CNN will be standing in front of a giant screen, and they're gonna zoom in on Ohio or Pennsylvania, and they're gonna zoom in even closer to a little area there, and he's gonna say, this is where the rural white men, and we didn't realize how many of them were actually gonna turn out, and some of them have some nefarious views on, and then that is how the system will then now it will be the war on white men will be fully burst forth. There's just, did you watch the Mr. McMahon doc on Netflix by any chance?
Yes. Most of it.
So McMahon, it's 6 episodes, 6 hours. I would highly recommend everyone watch it because it explains more about politics than almost anything you're going to ever see on cable news. Because McMahon understood how to follow culture. That's how he took something that everyone knew was fake and made us have real emotions about it, myself included. I used to love wrestling. You knew it was fake, but you thought that Jake the Snake that the snake was going to actually poisonally kill Macho Man that time.
Right.
And so we're basically all having real emotions to things that were basically being fed as nonsense. And until enough of us realize that again, we're going to keep doing the thing. But yes, they've hyper-racialized us in a very, very dangerous way.
Other people don't seem as bothered by it as I am. I was very bothered that we got Kamala Harris as a vice president. I was very bothered that Biden said, I'm going to hire or going to appoint a black woman, a woman of color, black woman. It also leads into weird places. I put a tweet out. You can find my tweet, maybe, Joe. I've got like 2.5 million shares, but it just popped in my head. I didn't want to have to do it, but it was Liz Warren and Kamala Harris, and I just thought it the other day. So I made a meme, I should say, and poked it out there. But it's 2024. This stuff wasn't that big in the 70s. It's just
that's the point.
Fuck over it. I'll show you my meme. You might get a chuckle out of it.
Right, exactly. This is why a meme is worth 1,000 words. That's the point.
It's Liz Warren that says pretending to be Indian, and then a picture of Kamala says pretending not to be Indian. By the way, all the pictures she has of her mom from back in the day, it's like ceremonial Indian garb drapes their shoulders and everything else. But
she also claims that she used to celebrate Kwanzaa as a child. The woman is a chronic liar. There is nothing real or authentic about her. There's nothing that she says is true. There's nothing she wouldn't say if she thought it furthered the goal. And by the way, that's just all out of Communist 101 propaganda.
Yeah, and I think to be fair, Trump lies and or exaggerates as well. And so I think there's kind of two. I have a head on it, but I'm curious what your head is. Trump lies. Okay, Trump lies. It's a constant beating. It's sort of Trump's racist or Trump's Hitlerian. He's a dictator. And then somewhere in the top 3 or top 5 is he lies. And I'll go, okay, I will accept that. When you say, when 350,000 people show up to your inauguration, you say 500,000 showed up. That's an exaggeration and a lie, but it's not really just a whole cloth lie. But there's lies in there. That's fine. I get it. He basically, the people that like Trump go, he lies, and I like what he can do in the Middle East. I like his policies in the Middle East. And he lies, and I like his border policy. And he lies, but I did kind of like gas out here in California for $2.75 a gallon versus $5.75. And he lies. Oh, and he wants school choice. And he lies. And he wants Elon Musk to come in and trim fat and get organized and get efficient, and he lies. I'll go, okay. So, like, Biden, he has a bunch of shit policies, but he's going to bring dignity back to the White House because he doesn't lie, but he lies his ass off. And he lies his ass off over big things. He's never spoke to his son about business, ever. They've never had a conversation.
Never thought of discussing that with his son, what he does for a living. How bizarre.
No, his son is going to Ukraine and working with Burisma, but he has zero thoughts or conversations about it for the 14-hour ride on Air Force Two. Okay, he lies. Kamala Harris lies her fucking ass off all the time. She didn't work at a McDonald's. She didn't grow up lower middle class or middle class in Oakland. Her parents were professors. Her list just keeps going and going and going. So, okay, now we're left with 2 people who lie. Okay, or 3 people. Got Biden, got Harris, got Trump. Okay, everyone lies, and maybe this is the new way forward. Maybe all politicians are just going to have to lie. Look, Tim Walz lies too. Okay, everyone lies. That's it. All right. One liar has shit policy, and the other liar has good policy. That's where I'm at.
Right. Well, look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Donald Trump doesn't lie. First off, I think there's a distinction, you sort of made it already, between a lie and just an exaggeration when he exaggerates about crowd sizes. No one's ever seen anything this big, all of that kind of stuff. But what I would say is we already, a while ago went through the laundry list of massive stories that the left has lied about, that the media has lied about. Donald Trump doesn't have a massive laundry list of things he's lied about. Now, look, I was for DeSantis in the primary. So was Trump lying about DeSantis as it pertained to COVID? Absolutely, he was. So I'm not sitting here pretending that anything isn't other than it actually is. But I would say that their lies have so dwarfed Trump's exaggerations, and that Trump, when it comes to all of the issues, as you point out, I would say Trump is directionally right. And I would rather have someone aiming at something good and sort of veering off the path every now and again versus someone sort of going directly to the gates of hell on the train of lies and deceit and everything else. That really is kind of where we're at this point. And I would also say that they're not all liars, actually. J.D. Vance, this guy is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
To the extent that any of us can tell the truth in any way about all of our past thoughts and record and why we did this or that or anything else, like there is no comparison between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. These guys are playing a different game altogether. JD, I think, actually right now, and I wanted Tulsi because I thought that would have opened the tent a little bit wider, but I think actually it's turned out that it's been a great choice with JD. He's ready for the stage. He's a better explainer about conservative ideas and wide tent political thought than probably anybody on the political stage right now. And so they're all liars to an extent. We're all flawed human beings. I don't know. We're all sinners, whatever version of that you want to use. But it's not equal. It's not equal.
Yeah, I'm really impressed by J.D. Vance as well. I didn't know much about him coming into it. I knew about his history and hillbilly elegy and that kind of thing. And I find him impressive. And it'll be very interesting at some point when he makes a run for the presidency and then becomes Hitler Part 2.
He's Hitler with eyeliner. That's what they're going to say. But look, that's what they were going to say about DeSantis. I always used to say, look, if DeSantis wins, they're going to use the same playbook on him. It's the playbook. So DeSantis will be Hitler with a calculator because he's more functional, let's say, than Trump. So we have to get past this. That's why
I agree. And sorry for cutting you off, but you brought up playbook, and I used to play a lot of football. And the thing about a playbook is, if you were getting ready to play a team that was pass heavy and could stretch the field and had a lot of speed on the outside, you wouldn't do it with the same playbook that you did a running team, with a big fullback or something. And they just take the Hitler, Nazi, racist, and they bring it in and they win the lion's share of their games with the same playbook. They were calling Mitt Romney a misogynist and a racist.
I mean, Adam, look, when you control the culture, there's a reason that Democrats don't want school choice that you referenced before. When you can send kids to, in essence, brainwashing centers, it's a damn shame that that's what public education has become. Because in theory, I'm not against public education. But just last night, we're rewatching The Sopranos right now. We're on, which I've seen, the whole series probably 5 times. But we're watching, I think it was season 1, episode 8, when Tony's having some trouble with Anthony Jr. at school. He's getting into some fights and stuff. And then they sit down with the school psychologist and the other teachers, and they're telling him that he has ADHD and they've got to drug him and all of this stuff. And Tony's basically like, hey, he's just a kid. He's rambunctious. He stole some stuff. He's, whatever. He did something he shouldn't do. Like, we're going to deal with it. And then you see the way the system just comes crashing down on this, 12-year-old in the show. And it's like, well, why does the system want all of these kids in government schools? Why does the system want them overly medicated? Why does the system want everybody behaved perfectly and all of these things? It's because ultimately you would end up replicating a bunch of clones across the system so that no matter how many times we told them what was true, we'd end up in the same exact situation we're in right now.
Yeah, during COVID, I coined the phrase crate training, and you got to get them. You got to get them when they're puppies. It doesn't work when they're middle age, and that's why we got to get the kids young, and that's why we can't have school choice. Dave Rubin, you've been very generous with your time. This is sort of a last-minute call, and I really appreciate you hanging with us. The show, by the way, the Rubin Report's on YouTube. And you can see him all over X and Instagram at Rubin Report, and website RubinReportLocals.com is where you go. I think I'll pop up on your show as well coming up soon. But it's always great.
We've got a big election extravaganza this evening. You might know some of the other guests. None of them will be named Kimmel, but I think you'll be familiar with some of the other ones. And also, I just wander around Florida all day. For anyone that, if you're not spending too much time online, I just walk around the streets of Florida. I promote Florida. I'm very pro-alligator, freedom, all that kind of thing.
Great to see you again, my friend. Always a delight.
Good seeing you, man.
Hey, I'm Adam Carolla. That's Brad Williams and Jay Leno. Hey, everybody. Over there, we're doing our third annual comedy fantasy camp. That's going to be January 23rd through the 26th, right in Hollywood, California. Where else would it be? These guys are going to be there.
So remember, 2 out of every 3 comics make it big.
Well, 1.5.
Do I get paid for this? Please tell me I get paid for this.
Go to comedyfantasycamp.com and get in on the fun.
Well, it's the best time of the year to get some home security going, and that's where Simply Safe comes in. They're giving my listeners early access to the Black Friday sale. That's right. You get in early. Ground floor, Simply Safe's new Active Guard outdoor protection changes the game by preventing crime before it happens. Right. You don't want to get a busted window, someone in the house, then you find out. Now, this nips it in the butt. If someone's lurking around and acting suspicious, agents see them in real time, talk to them directly, set off a spotlight, even call the police. No long-term contracts. And by the way, I think they use AI to recognize the friendly neighbor or the person that's walking their dog. No long-term lock-in contracts, cancellation fees. It's around $1 a day. That's not much to spend for security. This week, well, you can take 60% off any new system with the Select Professional Monitoring Plan. It's their best offer of the year, and it's all for you. It's Simply Safe, right, Dawson?
Head to simplysafe.com/Adam to claim your discount and make sure your home is safe this season. Don't wait. This offer won't last long. Keep your home, your family, and your peace of mind protected with Simply Safe. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Qualia Senolytics, the biggest discovery of our time for promoting healthy aging. I feel 15 years younger, and you'll feel 15 years younger in a matter of months. As we age, the body accumulates senescent cells or zombie cells that cause symptoms of aging, aches, slow workout recovery, sluggish mental and physical energy. Like pruning dead leaves off a plant, Qualia Senolytics removes worn-out old senescent cells and allows the rest to thrive. So that's it. You got to prune those cells. Take it just 2 days a month. It's non-GMO. It's vegan. It's gluten-free. 100-day money-back guarantee to feel fantastic. It is the best move I've ever made. Am I right, Dawson?
Resist aging at the cellular level. Try Qualia Senolytic. Go to qualialife.com/Adam for up to 50% off and use code Adam at checkout for an additional 15% off. For your convenience, Qualia Senolytic is also available at select GNC locations near you. That's QUALIA life.com/Adam for an extra 15% off your purchase. Thanks to Qualia for sponsoring today's episode.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. They're in the business of keeping your car on the road. They offer friendly, helpful service and parts and knowledge that you need to maintain all the repairs and keep your car running smoothly. I've always been a fan of O'Reilly. I remember when I lived up in La Crescenta in my rented house with all my roommates, and I'd work on my Isuzu Trooper, and then later on my Toyota Supra. And I would go up to the O'Reilly up on Foothill. And that's where I got all my know-how and I got all my parts. They've got thousands of parts and accessories in stock, either in the store or online, so you're never in a jam. The team at O'Reilly Auto Parts can test your battery for free, and they'll do it in or out of your car, so you can bring it in or you don't have to pull it out of your car. They'll come out and do it in the parking lot. Need your windshield wipers replaced, brake light fix, quick service? They'll help you find the right part, or they'll point you to the nearest local repair shop for help. So whether you're a car aficionado or you're a novice, you get with O'Reilly Auto Parts. They're knowledgeable, they're helpful, and best of all, they are friendly, and you can do it online or you can go in. Stop by O'Reilly Auto Parts today or visit them at O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. That's O'ReillyAuto.com/Adam. Tommy John. Well, here's a simple life hack. Upgrade with Tommy John. You'll do everything much better because you'll be much more comfortable with Tommy John. Their Second Skin underwear has dozens of comfort innovations like a supportive contour pouch and horizontal quick draw fly, plus breathable, lightweight, moisture-wicking fabric with 4 times the stretch of competing brands. Over 20 million pairs sold. Hundreds, nay, thousands of 5-star reviews. Tommy John doesn't have customers, they have fanatics. I know, I'm a Tommy John fanatic. I'm wearing mine right now. I will not wear anything other than Tommy John. I don't have the heart to throw out some of the old underwear I had because I paid way too much. I guess I'll just use it for a car rag, do my rims or something. They have a guarantee. It's called the best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free. They're the best. They're Tommy John, right, Dawson?
Get 20% off your first order right now at TommyJohn.com/Adam. Save 20% on Second Skin at TommyJohn.com/Adam. TommyJohn.com/Adam. See site for details. It's time to check Adam's voicemail.
Hey, Adam Richmond Pullman for you. Your job involves assembling a cabinet. Get it on.
You can leave us a message at 888-634-1744.
Oh, that took me a second. It's kind of weird with jokes I don't get. I'll go, oh, that took me a minute, but it only took me like 1.3 seconds.
Yeah.
Rich man, poor man is stuff rich people do and poor people do, not middle class.
A standard bit around here.
Assembling a cabinet.
I mean, that's a rich guy hobby if I ever heard one. If you got enough time to kick it and make a cabinet.
No?
No?
See, no. That was a very nuanced one. Mayhem.
Oh, you're talking IKEA cabinet? All right, that's poor guy stuff.
No. Poor guy puts together IKEA.
Yeah.
Rich guy, Trump, assembles a cabinet. See, that's why.
See, bud, I'm still trying to get it.
That assembling a cabinet.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Yeah, like first name basis with a judge.
Mm-hmm.
Either at the country club or you're always in court.
Oh, but I'm a first name with a few.
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
But not from the country club.
No, definitely not.
All right. What do you got there?
Well, Biggie, Tupac add Peanut the Squirrel to a list of assassinations. Yeah, it touches off a social media firestorm after New York officials euthanized the beloved rodent.
Yeah, I've been seeing this all over the place. Listen, you know, there's a couple of parts here.
Yeah.
There's Anne Frank hiding in the attic, right?
Are you not animating hiding enemies of the state beneath your floorboards, a raccoon and a squirrel?
Hold on.
All right.
There's Anne Frank. Then there's the Nazis who came in and pulled her out of the attic and took her to a concentration camp.
Yeah.
But before the Nazis got there, somebody had to say to the Nazis, I think there's a 13-year-old girl in a fetal position trying to write a book by candlelight up there who's malnourished. If you really are serious about winning this war, I suggest you go get her and take her down to Auschwitz. Somebody told them. They were not on a random Nazi search. Somebody in the village, and by the way, the person in the area she was in was sort of like, hey, Nazis, I'd like an extra ration of ham.
Yeah.
So I got some info you might enjoy. There's this 13-year-old girl who weighs 80 pounds who's hiding up in that attic. Why don't you go get her? So the way I'm wired, I'm a little less perturbed at the Nazis because the Nazis are Nazis. That's what Nazis do.
It's the snitch.
Who's the snitch?
Yeah.
Who's the snitch? That's my point. There's the stormtroopers. And by the way, look, I don't know if the squirrel was Republican or Democrat or whatever it is. I've said to people a million times, listen, I just want smaller government. That's all. Just smaller.
Well, raccoons...
I want a smaller government. I do not want 12 people showing up and pulling a guy out of his house and keeping him on his lawn for 5 hours while they rifle through his house looking for a rodent.
Well, also, raccoons are well-known socialists.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, they share everything.
So they got the raccoon. They got the squirrel. I've seen video of the squirrel. The squirrel seems well-behaved and well-trained.
Can we just say adorable?
And adorable. And the raccoon, there's plenty of footage of it. I don't know if we have any footage of the guy talking about it or anything, but he's very upset about it.
Well, I mean, I did notice the squirrel is black. Is that
they're putting down brown?
Did that have something to do with it?
No, if Trump has anything to say about it, but it's just insane. You know what? What drives me nuts is that we have no resources and then all the resources. You know, like we do these things where I go, these kids in the inner city of Baltimore, they got no air conditioning in their classroom. You know, during the summer months, it's impressively, and then at some point they go, look, we need an aid package for Ukraine for $200 kajillion. And they go, all right, sign off on that. It's like, okay, what society do we live in? Do we live in a society where there's we don't have enough money and enough cops and enough everything, but we do have enough money to send 12 people over to a dude's house and get a squirrel?
Yeah, but let me tell you, latex gloves. Okay, when I was in jail, they walked me back and forth to the visiting room every day to talk with my lawyers. They put on a fresh pair of latex gloves. Then they took off the pair of latex gloves. Then they came back. Then they put a new pair of latex gloves. And took off for a 6-foot walk. Every day. With every different inmate. They did that over and over again like they're wearing condoms on their hands.
All going to the landfill.
Yes. Okay. That's
I'm
America.
with you. No, that's waste.
And then and one time they came to get me in my house. Okay, helicopter overhead, machine guns on every roof, sniper rifles on every roof. All these guys getting paid time and a half to come get Mayhem.
Wow.
Yeah. This
helicopter. A bird in the air.
Bird in the sky, $12,000 an hour. A ATV or assault vehicle with a battering ram on the front. C4 to the door. No Mayhem, no more. Yeah.
C4 explosives?
Yeah, they C4'd the door off. Yeah.
Oh, they blew the door off.
Oh, yeah. Almost killed my wiener dog.
I'm kind of... Which wiener?
Hot dog.
Oh, the dog.
Gator hot dog. Remember
Gator
I referred to him? Yeah.
Yeah. I'm almost convinced that when they go... Okay, look, this drives me nuts. What's her name? Lori Loughlin.
Yeah.
And I was also watching this with Martha Stewart. Like, the amount of money and effort we put into prosecuting Martha Stewart is insane. Martha Stewart was a fucking earner.
Yeah.
She was an earner. And she employed thousands of people. And not to mention all the people that were making all the products that were Kmart and everything like that. And basically, she got a phone call from, like, her accountant. And said, like, hey, I heard the FDA is not going to approve this new drug and you own whatever in this pharmaceutical company. Now would be a good time to sell it off, before the news comes out. And then Martha Stewart did what every other human being I know would do. They went, oh, yeah, okay, thanks. See ya. Hung up the phone and continued her trip. She was on vacation. And, 16 million taxpayer dollars later and 5 court appearances. And by the way, they never even got her for insider trading. They got her for lying during a deposition and an interview, which is what they get. It's like, how much energy do they have? Now, then we get Martha Stewart, and instead of her paying millions of dollars in taxes every quarter, we pull her out of the game and put her in some facility where it cost us $55,000 to incarcerate her, where we waste latex gloves.
It seems like you're making a good argument for defunding the police.
Well, I don't. No. I like the police because they keep the peace.
But if you give a bunch of hammers, everything starts looking like nails.
Well, look, I've never been a big pro-cop fan. We've done little experimentations of what happens when the cops pull back. It gets hairy. and it gets bad in the bad neighborhoods. I'm talking about the system, not so much the guy on the corner. I don't like the big sort of DOJ system. I don't like that Alec Baldwin gets pulled back a third time to defend himself against something that was clearly an accident that he will regret till the day he dies. Yeah. I don't need that kind of stuff, resources focus on. But wait, we have this guy's clip, the guy with the Peanut the Squirrel.
Oh, Peanut. To beloved baby.
All right.
It's a beloved baby.
That was. But, yeah, the one I saw was him and his wife standing there, but he's got another entry.
Hi, everyone. I just wanted to update all of you, but I would first like to say how grateful I am for all of the love and support. You guys have no idea how much you have gotten me through the
guy looks like Aaron Rodgers.
He does.
His eyes. He has Aaron Rodgers' eyes.
What transpired yesterday. I'm going to leave the details out of it, but we have the understanding that the DEC will not tell us whether or not Peanut is alive or not. So I can't give you a definitive answer of whether or not he's still here with us. I hope we have an opportunity to take him back and continue this journey on starting a nonprofit in a squirrel.
Wait, hold on a second.
Starting this.
I thought Peanut got euthanized with the raccoon. He's saying now maybe not?
No, this is before that. And then there's a second video with him and his wife.
I'll play the one with him and his wife. Yeah. I think that's.
And then also, a woman did claim to snitching on Peanut.
Oh,
and
what the hell?
And now is taking down all her social media and the post.
I do not want her to have anything physical done to her, but I would like her to be shunned and ostracized from society.
Kill the collaborator.
That's right. The dime droppers, the Peanut dime droppers.
Oh, my God. We're just doxing her right now, Monica Kiesler?
Yes.
Oh, down with Kiesler.
Do we have the first vid? What's the one I saw?
So Super Karen took out Peanut. That's a shame. I mean, look, 7 years, the guy didn't have a wildlife permit. And, it's kind of weird. Like, I feel like you go down to the courthouse, fill out some paperwork, and he would have been able to keep Peanut. They wouldn't have kicked his door with the 44.
But let me say this, Mayhem, about the man. People say to me a lot, they go, I've built a few things without pulling a permit, and they go, why don't you just go down to the city and get a permit? Ooh. And I'm like, you're assuming I could just go down to the city and they would permit this.
I know.
They will not let you do it. That's what lay people don't understand. They go, just get a permit. You could do the deck on the back. And they won't let you do it. So you go down to get a wildlife permit and they go, what? And you go, I got a squirrel in my house. They go, you do? And then they go get the squirrel and euthanize it. And we'll see if you'll never get the permit.
So Peanut was living on borrowed time the whole time.
Peanut was living like one of my favorite TV movies from the 70s, Bad Ronald.
On the lam.
You don't know Bad Ronald's story.
Sorry, I don't.
Bad Ronald was a guy who was made fun of in the neighborhood. This is like a 13-year-old kid. He was constantly made fun of, Bad Ronald was.
Yeah.
And at some point, he had like a little 9-year-old girl talking shit in the neighborhood. Like, your mom is bad. You're bad, Ronald. And he pushed her. And he knocked her over, and she hit her head on a rock, and she died. So he buried her in a shallow grave. Kyle knows Bad Ronald, some of Scott Jacoby's greatest roles, some would say. And his mom, who played Vera from the Planet of the Apes or whoever, was built him a little cave underneath the staircase. That hollowed out area underneath the staircase. They built him a little room, and she hid him there. And the cops showed up, and they were like, where's Bad Ronald? And she said, he took off. He packed his clothes, and he left. I don't know where he is. So he hid under there. Well, what happened to the mom? She died.
Oh, man.
And then a new family with Dabney Coleman as the dad bought the house. But what they didn't know was they had Bad Ronald living under the staircase, and that's what Peanut was doing. There's even a scene where there's a nosy Karen neighbor who, like, at some point during the day when everyone's at school and at work, Bad Ronald's got to come out and get some food from the refrigerator and stuff. And they show the nosy neighbor, like, going, oh, there's somebody in the house. Oh, he had to take care of her. So Peanut is living like Bad Ronald.
Oh, man.
And the neighbor spotted Peanut and dropped the dime.
Rest in peace.
Kim Hunter was the mom. Sorry. All right, here's the clip. And by the way, it's the Bad Ronald references. That's why the young chicks like me.
Euthanized Peanut.
And the raccoon as well.
And the raccoon as well. I am so sorry. This must be really difficult for you.
It not only tears my family apart, but Peanut was the cornerstone of our nonprofit animal rescue. And 10 to 12 DEC officers raided my house as if I was a drug dealer. I was sat outside my house for 5 hours. I had to get a police escort to my bathroom. I wasn't even allowed to feed my rescue horses breakfast or lunch. I was sat there like
Did
a
you know
criminal.
horses ate lunch?
After they interrogated my wife to check out her immigration status, then proceeded to ask me if I had cameras in my house, then proceeded to go through every cabinet, nook, and cranny of my house for a squirrel and a raccoon.
They got a search warrant?
They got a search warrant. 4 departments and a judge signed off.
I don't know who this lady is crying behind him, but I want to hire her. Because every time I tell a story of woe,
Right next to you.
I just want her standing over my shoulder.
I just like how this is the first guy, this is his first interaction with the cops.
Can you do a good fake cry? All right, hold on. Let me tell you the story. I grew up in a 1-bedroom house, 1 bathroom, had to sleep on a service porch. No air conditioning, no heat. 2x4 ceiling joist, plywood, non-insulation. I slept on a prison mattress in the back and lived like an animal. An animal. I open the fridge, maws come out. Nothing. No sandwich. No hugs. No I love you, son. None of it. I didn't have a Schwinn. I had a Huffy.
He only had one.
A Huffy. I had to wear Toughskins. No Levi's. Oh, okay. I just want this woman over my shoulder crying whenever I tell the story.
Me too.
I ordered a BLT, no mayo. I got extra mayo. Don't laugh. No, see, you can't do that, Jim. Thank you. All right. Sad.
Peanut's gone.
It's a metaphor for big government overreach. I'm done with big government.
But I think racism is a big part of this because the raccoon didn't even have a name.
Oh, no, he did have a name.
Oh, I thought they were racist against raccoons.
No, and he's mixed. But they do call them bandits.
Trash pandas? Is that a slur now?
I don't know, but they look like they're wearing a mask. The raccoon had a name.
Rocket?
It should have been, wait, say Rocky or Rocket?
Rocket. Rocket Raccoon?
Well, there's Rocky Raccoon from the Beatles.
Well, I mean,
and then there's Rocket Raccoon from the movie.
Yeah.
He was Fred the Raccoon. Anyway. Yeah. All right. You got another story?
Yeah, next up, Kalshi's embrace of the USDC triggers a $25 million cascade of last-minute wagers on the election result. Yeah.
Kalshi, yeah.
Kalshi, which is a great site to bet on just random things such as the election, now it now lets cryptocurrencies in, and as soon as that happened, 25 million came in on Kamala.
Yeah, so it was heavily weighted toward Trump.
Yep.
And I don't know gambling websites, but they're pretty accurate. They know what they're doing. You know, they pretty much call the Super Bowl. You know, they go 2.5, and the other team wins by 3 or whatever it is. Like they're pretty accurate. And there was a lot of action on Trump. He was a heavy favorite, but then the crypto money came in, and Kamala came back.
Why?
So, well, one could argue, possibly. One could argue that the crypto money, those guys are a little more connected, like a little more dialed in.
I think you might be right about
Probably have some guys on the inside, you know. You think crypto, and I always think sort of tech bros, you know, and Silicon Valley and stuff. And those guys know things.
Yeah, because
And
they have
know,
all the algorithm. They have the macro data.
And they know people, too, and people talk to them about stuff. So the crypto money seems like the smart money, and that would bode well for Kamala.
Yeah, there's a slight edge still to Trump. But, Kamala is pulling even.
Well, it's funny, I was looking into this, and I found out that Kalshi, what are you going to do when the election's over? But now you can move to my favorite sport, and I'm the Jimmy the Greek of Rotten Tomatoes.
You are.
Oh, yeah, I can call it because I have an algorithm. Like, women who kick ass in the lead, that's good for like 13 to 17 points, There's certain races, there's certain ethnicities, there's certain themes. They love it.
And you know how to fit those algos together.
Well, like when they come out with Ted Nugent, the movie.
Yeah.
I know that the critics are not going to like that before it starts.
Yeah.
And when something comes out of Ben Shapiro's camp or Angel Studios or whatever, they're not going to like it, but the people will like it. So I can prognosticate when it comes to that. Also, you gotta also realize when there's a consensus, Mayhem, when the critics and the people sort of both arrive in the same place at like 37%, that's the kiss of death. But anyway, Kalshi is a sponsor, so you can go there and use our sponsors, have a little fun. Kalshi.com/Adam and get in on some of the fun. All right, what else? Let's do one more.
All right. Well, if we're going to have one more, let's go with RFK Jr. vows the White House will advise taking fluoride out of drinking water if Trump wins.
The fluoride in the drinking water thing has been a thing for a long time.
But is it bad? I've been brainwashed by the system.
My mom was early sort of hippie, Yule Gibbons, many parts of the pine cone are edible. This all predates you. It used to be called ecology.
Oh, yeah.
It was not global warming, which it turned into. It went from ecology. Ecology had a flag. The flag was kind of like the Green Bay Packer flag, speaking of Aaron Rodgers. It was like...
Oh, wow.
The guy who...
Kind of ominous.
The guy who invented the ecology flag was definitely a Packers fan. He's probably sitting around, with his Bart Starr poster up in his room in 1972, thinking about Vince Lombardi and doodling. And he came up with a flag. Now, they called it ecology. And ecology just meant the earth, and take care of the land and all that kind of stuff. That then gave way to the Ice Age, which was going to hit. Then we abandoned the Ice Age and we flipped the script. We went for global warming. And now we just go with climate change, because when you go climate change, you can never be wrong. Yeah. If you go hot or cold, then people could go, well, the Earth's temperature hasn't gone up or if you go cold, then you can go, the Earth's temperature hasn't gone down. But if you just go climate change is awesome, because all you got to do is like have the wind blow up a little bit and the rain come down a little bit and a tree falls over, and then you just look at it and go, see what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
See what I'm talking about? This is what I'm talking about. And every time a storm blows into Florida or hail lands in Texas, you go, see what I mean? See what I mean? Now we admit I'm right? You got to admit I'm right. It was 119 in Phoenix the other day. That's climate change, bro. So now you can just point at everything that happens and go, you see what I'm talking about? Which is smart, because if you go, well, we're going to be living in an ice age, and then I can go, but it was 117 in Phoenix the other day. Now you're wrong.
Texas froze over.
Yeah. But
climate change.
You just go for climate change. So now there's climate change, and there was ecology. But back in the day, there was fluoride, and my mom was down. She didn't like fluoride. The hippies didn't like fluoride. They're putting it in the water, man. Now, no one drinks tap tap water anymore. So it's kind of moot, right? Like,
a little bit, yeah.
Who's drinking tap water? They're all drinking bottled water now. But my mom used to brush her teeth with baking soda.
Yeah, that's a standard hippie move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because she didn't want the fluoride in the toothpaste.
Wait, what the hell happens if you have too much fluoride?
If you talk to the people, they'll tell you sort of, remember there was like radon people, and asbestos people, about asbestos was everywhere and radon was everywhere.
Yeah.
It never really happens, but they don't like it. And then also when someone doesn't like something, you just go right to autism.
Yeah.
You go, in 1965, there were only 3 autistic kids in the nation, and now 11 out of 10 children have autism on the spectrum.
So that's what
you
we're
understand? Well, it's fluoride, or it's whatever. It's global warming, or no, it's what I said with climate change is causing autism, and then vaccines are causing autism, and then COVID caused autism. Autism is this thing that's always out there, and it's always on the rise because we used to just call people dopes or lumpheads or stupid or lame. We used to go, well, now that kid's on the spectrum.
Yeah.
So everybody's on the spectrum now, and we have to chalk it up to something.
So if I drink enough fluoride, I'll get better at math, but worse at social skills?
Yeah, if you drink enough fluoride and I drop a big box of matches.
Yeah.
And they all spill out all over the diner floor.
You can count them all.
You can count them all.
Damn, gotta get some fluoride.
You gotta get some fluoride, bro. So that's what's going on. Now look, I don't know anything about fluoride other than it's supposed to help your teeth.
Yeah, I thought it was like something that helps, like from, I don't know, make your bones stronger. I know that fluoride
enamel or something, but okay, they start putting it in water and they start putting it in toothpaste, but nobody drinks water anymore, and I think you can get toothpaste without fluoride in it now. Does the Tom's of Maine have fluoride in it? Because I use Tom's. Tom's just makes good stuff, kind of natural stuff. I prefer it to the big brand stuff.
But the whole crux of this story is that RFK is spearheading this movement. And he is, a lawyer for what?
He's environmental
lawyer, which would have been back in the day an ecology lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
So could you see him climbing the mountaintop with the green Packers flag and firing down fluoride missiles? Or fluoride blocking missiles?
I would like him to get heavily involved in the food pyramid and the FDA and all that. I'd love it if he cleaned all that stuff up.
The food pyramid is like the dumbest thing ever, isn't it? Like
the food pyramid is basically the government going, look, we're experts and here's what you should eat, and they're 100% wrong.
Yeah.
That's all you need to know about them.
Eat some bread.
Yeah,
heavy on the bread.
21 servings of whole grain, bread, wheat, pasta, and all that, and then you shouldn't really eat meat.
Yeah.
That's what they said.
Paid for by the farmers of America.
That's right. All right, one more, and then we'll...
All right, cool. An Iranian student strips, walks around in her underwear in apparent protest of strict hijab laws, leading to allegedly violent arrest. Yeah. Female college student. I don't know if we have some footage of this, but it's pretty wild story that a female college student was arrested in Iran Sunday for stripping down and strutting around campus in her underwear.
I heard a story she was beaten to death, but I don't know. It could be just hearsay on the internet.
Well, they said they saw some blood stains from the student were reportedly seen on the car's tires. So they ran her over, or
is she alive or not?
Yeah,
that's the question. So she got into trouble for not wearing the veil or whatever, and so she got angry. So she stripped down to her bra and panties and sat in the middle of the school. And then at some point, they arrested her, and they'll do something horrible to her.
Yeah, she just sat here casually, in a place where you're supposed to wear a headscarf no matter what. As you can see, those girls, all wearing very casual dress, but. I see girls on TikTok wearing racier stuff than that. I don't know what's Iran.
Yeah, those people those TikTok girls are in Florida.
Yeah.
She's in some sort of horrible oppressive culture. I don't know. It's 2024. Is this still... Really? We're still doing this. All right, we got the vid, and I like where our head's at. The problem with these kind of protests, it was the same thing with COVID and me going to the beach or going to the horse trail. I needed everyone to do it with me at the same time, not one person. That's how you get arrested and put in a gulag. All right, you can stop the footage. We don't need to see footage of somebody who's walking around. But
that's them snatching her up right there.
Oh, we have the footage of. Oh, I'm sorry. Then I
away,
apologize. I couldn't see her anymore. I didn't know what happened.
Yeah, they whisked her away in that car, and everybody's kind of freaking out.
Yeah, I don't know. Listen, you guys in these nations, they always do this thing where they go, "It's not the people, it's the government." You guys vote for this shit, or you tolerate this shit, or you install this shit. You mean, here's what I'm saying. Let's just say, I've said this a million times, if the United States government was comprised solely of Klan members, that would be our fault.
Yeah.
You could go, the people of the United States are good, God-fearing, family-oriented, non-judging, whatever. If we every single year just decided that the Klan was going to run our country, that would be on us.
Well, here's the thing. They don't have guns over there. They don't have any way to really rebel. And as I understand it, in Iran, they some cleric of some kind basically spammed tapes to everybody in the country and the original viral video. Yeah, had everybody brainwashed on his rhetoric, and then suddenly the right-wing party over there, or whatever you call the theocratic party of Muslims over there, took over suddenly, and they've been like this for 40 some odd years.
Yeah, I've never been one of those, we need guns, not for hunting, but for the government kind of thing. But the more I look around and the more I see the cultures where nobody has a gun, and the more I hear folks like Kamala Harris going, it's a what we call a mandatory gun buyback. It's like, what do you mean mandatory gun buyback? I like the idea that they're so obsessed with getting the guns back, and also more regulation. Like the guy who owned Peanut, you didn't want that guy to have an AK.
Yeah.
They don't want him to have an AK, because then they get to do what they want to do versus people having AKs. I'm not one of these guys just talking about fighting the military or anything like that. I'm just saying, when you're a government and you'd like to have your way all the time with everybody, them not being armed is helpful.